Hello and welcome to this latest lesson in the series around data administration with inside Sage CRM. Today we're looking at data uploading. So we're starting a little mini topic within the series, and we're thinking about, in this lesson specifically, around preparing for data upload. You can see we've got a series of lessons within the cycle all around data management and the aspects of working with data. And much of what we're looking at today is going to tie back to our question around deduplication that we've already considered in the lesson. And we'll also be looking on and thinking about the way in which data is added into the system in other ways, and thinking about the nature of management of territories, etc. So specifically in this lesson, we are looking at how to prepare for a data upload. So we've split the topic around data upload into two elements, and this idea today, we're covering the knowledge needed to think about the process of creating the data sources that will be used by the upload process. Now, the data upload feature allows you to import multiple records like leads, companies and people into Sage CRM all at once. And it's all about preparing a file in a specific format. Typically, it's going to be either a CSV file or some type of Microsoft spreadsheet, so an XLS, XLSX type, that contains the data that you want to import. Now, the system is set up to guide you through the configuration process during upload, and we will be seeing how deduplication can be used to avoid duplicating entries. But before we do the data upload, we actually have to spend some time thinking about how to make sure it's as pain-free as possible. Now, within help.sagecrm.com, for every supported release of Sage CRM, there is documentation available that explains the data upload feature and how to carry out an import. And importantly, there is actually another resource that is available, and that main resource is something called the Data Upload Workbook. This is something that allows you to rehearse different types of scenarios for data upload. So they're well worth having a look at. So going on to help.sagecrm.com and finding the Data Upload Workbook. Now, in my case, I want to think about where data upload fits into the wider question of usage of Sage CRM and the implementation of Sage CRM. Very often it's part of the initial implementation of Sage CRM, and so it has to be considered as part of the wider question of system migration to Sage CRM. When anyone adopts a new system, new technology, there are going to be some push and pull factors involved in the decision, and it's exactly the same for Sage CRM. There are a number of different push factors that would mean that migration becomes a real possibility and the adoption of Sage CRM. So, for example, customers may be using, within the context of an integration with Sage accounting products, a need actually to integrate with those back office systems. So they're stuck with data silos. There's no integration between the systems, or they might actually find themselves stuck in an escalating cost base where the license or subscription costs are no longer demonstrating a return on investment. You also have data privacy concerns where data is not felt to be in control of an organization, and so not everyone is comfortable with having sensitive data placed on another company's computer. And it can also be hard to find cost-effective professional services where you're dealing with systems which are highly specialized and rather than a generalist web-based application like Sage CRM. Now, there are pull factors specific to Sage CRM because of the out-of-the-box integration with Sage accounting products, whether that's Sage 100, Sage 200, or Sage 300. And there, by extension, there are partner integrations, which are essentially click-to-install implementations for Sage 50 through to Sage Intacct, meaning that there is just an ease of integration. Sage CRM as well has got very cost-effective subscription and deployment options, very, very simple pricing structure. It's easy to configure and control, and of course, there is a good support environment for customers with partners and the wider Sage partner networks. The decision to implement Sage CRM, however, means that information across an organization will need to be migrated and uploaded into Sage CRM. So that's where the wider picture informs data upload. Now, those typical data sources can be really scattered through an organization. So when a company aims to centralize customer data into a single source like Sage CRM, it's going to encounter various data silos, and these are the separate systems and databases holding the main or critical customer information. Now, these are common examples, but this is not an exhaustive list. But let's just think about the different departments that exist within an organization. And you start off with the idea of a sales team, which might have an existing CRM or contact management system. It may well have information contained within spreadsheets. Nearly everyone is going to have some sort of email system, and there are contacts within Exchange or Outlook or whatever is the contact system that is being used. And then there's going to be other sales activity tracking tools, which offer a point solution perhaps for a sales team, but it's not helpful for a wider marketing or support purpose. And then within the marketing teams, there are going to be marketing automation platforms, email marketing tools, and that could be the subscribers within an audience in something like Contact or within MailChimp, and you want to be able to aggregate those and make it best advantage of that type of information. You can even be thinking about the social media platforms and website analytics, etc., that you have for allowing you to segment and identify your different customer populations. We also have the reality that in a customer service department, there may well be help desk or ticketing systems. It may well only hold point information relating to the customer care issue, but bringing that information into a support environment, into a CRM environment, means, of course, you then get a much wider picture as to what the total needs of the customer are. And especially when it comes to a Sage environment, you're always going to have information that is tied up within the finance system, within the accounting software, and you want to be able to migrate that and include that within Sage CRM. These then are the typical data sources. And how do we then get to the point in which we move from those data sources into the data upload scenario? At its very simplest, the import of data into Sage CRM can be broken down into the preparation for upload, then the actual upload, and then the review of the uploaded data. And so this lesson is really all about emphasizing the importance of the preparation phase. We'll start to examine this now. Within data upload preparation, you think about the resources that you're going to need. The resources that we'll use will be information about the data itself that you have, the nature of the target within inside Sage CRM that you'll be migrating the data to or uploading the data into. And that's not just the gross decision about whether this is lead information or company information, but rather down to the level of what is the nature of the individual fields that you're going to be uploading, and making sure that there's no problems with missing required data or thinking about unnecessary truncation of data. We'll think about the data upload destination, the criteria for helping us work out whether or not data is aimed at the company or a lead. We'll look at the stages that we need to consider, or the points that we need to consider when we're preparing the assembled data for upload, in making sure that itself has all of the necessary robustness that you need and quality before you attempt an upload. There is no point in trying to just assemble data and stick it into Sage CRM without preparation. We need to make sure that we have done the necessary work to do that. Within the context, of course, before any actual execution, we have taken the necessary backups so that we can be prepared for any problems that occur during the upload process. There's a lot of this is information that really we would be used to from due diligence work that we're already doing. Now, for data upload preparation, thinking about the resources that we need. We've started to think about the data silos, but it does require us to conduct a thorough audit to pinpoint where all of the potential customer data resides within an organization. We need to think about the quality of each of the data sources that we want to use. And that data quality is really about its accuracy and its completeness, and whether if you have got point information collected across multiple points, whether or not there is consistency of data within the system. So have you got a consistent view of email addresses, or for full names, or just initials of people? So what is the quality of the data in terms of its completeness? We then have to think about how, as you start to bring everything together, what is the strategy that you're going to adopt in order to pull the information out of their original sources, prepare it for upload, and then actually approach the upload within the larger project that you've got for the implementation of Sage CRM. So this is thinking about this extract, transform, and load that we need to carry out. As part of all of that, there has to be rules and procedures for the nature of the data that we're working with, and who has sight of that data, and the security associated with it. After all, if we are going to be transitioning data from one system to another system, then we will be thinking about who has control over that. How do you maintain the access rights to the spreadsheet that's being used? Who is going to carry out a data upload and therefore handle the data? And we need to address questions about how do you eliminate unnecessary duplicates, or try and remove as many duplicates as possible? How do we ensure we've made a decision around the uniqueness of email addresses, and even consent management. Now, there has to be, if you're uploading data into Sage CRM, you have to be thinking in terms of the nature of the data and the larger questions of that management. And that might involve training being applied even before you get to the point of importing the data, because you have to educate users on the importance of data quality and data protection. And that includes responsibilities associated with legislation such as GDPR and some of the Californian laws, etc., that really control the experience of businesses and the requirements of handling customer data. Now, the key to determining whether to upload any data from a system is to think about whether it's going to go into a lead, a company, or a person. The key to this is the nature of the data that we have. And that's going to be associated with the type or level of data contained within the originating source. So if you might have basic information like an email address, a name of a person, potentially a company name, then that might be suitable for starting with lead information. And if you have more detailed information like company information, including all the way down to the physical address, various phone numbers, the website information, along with contact details for an individual, then that would be going ahead and creating a company record with associated person records. But if your information is really focused on contacts as individuals, you may not have the information available to store really about a company as such. And so you may then be just focusing on uploading a person record. You can always upload person records associated with a company, but leads, companies, and people are these different categories. And we might actually also have to think about the business processes that we're engaged in for the phase of the project that we're carrying out the data upload. So if we're focused on lead generation and lead qualification, then the leads object may well be the best choice. And if you're managing an existing customer relationship and you're into a point where you know these are existing customers, and so this is where you're not starting from scratch, you're going straight in to be able to be prepared to link into an accounting product, then companies and people would be more appropriate. We do have to think about the data quality all the time. We have to assess the completeness and accuracy of the data. We have to think about whether the data is incomplete or inconsistent within itself. And if it is, then it's better to start with leads and refine later. So if we look to that, then we think about that nature of identifying the source, exporting the data. We then go through the process of classifying the data, and that classifying the data is where we think about whether it is the lead, company, or person, and when we think about whether or not we prepare the data into a file that is then ultimately going to be imported. There are things like we'll have to think about our format of the data, the required fields that we're working with, and the nature of deduplication as well. And we also have to think about the person who's carrying out the process as well, because there are questions around here about the user who carries out the upload and how that fits in to the matrix of rights and security settings to make sure that the people who want to use the data can actually see the data. Now, in my simple example that I used in preparing for this lesson, I took data from an email system and I exported it. So I started off by working with a test environment, exported some information from that test environment, and I then ended up with a spreadsheet that I'd need to assess. So I ended up actually with being exported into a CSV file, comma delimited, and I can now start to consider the quality of the existing data. By quality, we are thinking about the accuracy and the completeness of the data. That setting if I'm suspect about the nature of the data, it is better to identify data as going into leads and then refining it later through the processes of Sage CRM. Now, my particular example, I had email addresses, I had the full name of a person, I had a company name, and I had some basic address information. But unfortunately, I didn't actually have consistent information about the email addresses. So there were gaps in the email addresses and even the website information was missing. I might have the company name, I just didn't know what their website was. In my particular case, I took the decision that because the data was so poor, then it was better for me to think about trying to get it formatted for leads. So I knew that my workflow within Sage CRM would allow those to be converted to companies and people as more information was added into the system. So there does have to be a process in which you think carefully about the data and business requirements so that there is an informed decision about the best approach. It is better to look at moving things and treating things as a lead rather than creating unreliable data at the level of the company, which is perhaps integrated with the accounting product. You want to be defensive where possible about your data. Now, I've discussed that the import file needs to be either a spreadsheet or a CSV file. So spreadsheet can either be the old style Windows Office 97 standard, so XLS, or it can be the modern HTML or XML based XLSX spreadsheet or CSV files. Now, CSV files are preferred. And the reason being is that there's no complex formatting formulas or filters that may interfere with the way in which data is interpreted and uploaded. Now, you do have to make sure that the delimiter that is used within the source data sheet that you're using is going to match the settings within Sage CRM. That's within the system behavior for data uploads. If you're using a CSV file as well, have a look at the documentation that talks about the way in which it's necessary to escape special characters in values. And the file name has to be less than 60 characters long. That's a requirement because there's a certain when things are uploaded, they're going to be creating those as groups, and there are limitations on group names and things that are created. So 60 characters long is the name of the file name. And within the file, each column of the file must have a unique heading and be mapped into an existing field in the Sage CRM database. Now, I'll look at this in a little bit more detail in a moment, but it is really around the idea of using actual field captions as well as where possible for the column headings to make it so easy to work, and make sure that you've really thought through the required fields and made sure that there are no nulls within the required fields, because Sage CRM will choke. It will throw an error if you are trying to upload data where certain fields are mandatory. It works best so that you take an upload that is large and complex by breaking it into a series of steps. The recommended and I think documented amount is 5,000 records. So you shouldn't be trying to upload more than 5,000 companies at a time and associated records. And this is to make it a consumable amount before an unnecessary and unneeded timeout takes place. So you do things you process records in a reasonable amount, and make sure if you are importing anything with a date, then the date files have to be in a consistent fashion across the entirety of the uploaded data. Documentation should be referred to when you are working with especially company and person information where there may be, or company information where multiple addresses may be used. So there's some guidance there about multiple addresses. We'll have a look at multiple addresses in the next example, but we'll be able to specify the type of address as things are uploaded. We will have a look as well when we do that around multi-select values as well, because multi-select values shouldn't contain spaces. They should just be comma delimited within the comma delimiting fields. If we go and look at the actual spreadsheet that may well be used, the purpose of this lesson is to get you to think about making the migration or upload as painless as possible. The time spent on preparation will filter out errors before they are actually experienced as an error during upload, before any risk of having to roll back and restore and restore the backup that was taken. So preparation is very important. So you need to make sure, you can see here in my spreadsheet that I've got my CSV file as a header row. And what I've done is for each column within the file has a unique heading and is mapped to an existing field in the Sage CRM database. And what I've also done is I've made sure that I've not included data that is longer than the target fields, because all fields have a length, and so you need to be aware of the physical length of the fields that you're uploading to prevent data being truncated. And as you can see, I've used the field captions as column headings. It just makes it so much easier when it comes to the automatic mapping of the fields for upload. Now, once you've started to do this, it is worthwhile making a model CSV sheet that can be used for templates. It's especially important as well to be prepared to carry out a test upload with a sample set of data. And I think that that it's a very good idea to make sure that you've got a development or a test server that allows you to test your assumptions before you carry out any action on a production server. So it's best to test uploads in a test or a development server before you do that. And of course, as I said, make sure that mandatory data, the required fields, have values. So make sure that deduplication is switched on as well. That's an important benefit. Although it's turned on by default, some systems end up turning off deduplication, if you are carrying out a data upload, if you want to be able to use match rules during upload, then please make sure that deduplication is switched on. It doesn't inherit from the match rules that are already there for the general user experience, but it allows you to define specific match rules for the process of uploading into Sage CRM. So when you perform a data upload, Sage CRM uses the possibility of you defining a match rule to identify potential records, and those rules specify which fields are used against the which fields have the applied criteria. So that's the idea of an exact match, contains, etc. And where it occurs, where you're uploading into a company, because you're dealing with not just a company then, but a complex entity that consists of information about an address or about a person as well, they can all be insisted upon deduplication rules. So the accuracy of deduplication depends on the quality of the rules that you define, and understanding about how match rules work will help as well. Now, a couple of things to think about is that this is all about cleanliness of data, the consistency of data. If you have clean and consistent data, that actually makes the match rules even better. That increases the effectiveness. And if you're too complex, though, in what you're trying to do, then you may find that the data upload, the performance is impacted as well. So you just have to be mindful of the fact that as a upload occurs, it's issuing more and more SQL statements to try and work out whether this data being imported already exists inside the system. When we come on to doing an upload, there is going to be a decision about who carries out the data upload. Now, system administrators, those people who have full system admin rights, can carry out the upload. You'll find that the next type of user that can carry out an upload is an info manager. We're looking at the details of an info manager here on this screen. And you have to give those info managers explicit admin data rights so that they can perform the data uploads. And the question about who the user is really important, because if I give it to a sales manager and they carry out a data upload straight away, they can actually end up with importing data into the system which nobody in their team can actually see, because they may not have thought about the destination of the data in terms of the security matrix. Now, we looked at the idea of categorizing data based on its completeness and quality, and that determines whether or not we're putting it into the lead, the company, or person. But when data exists inside Sage CRM, it nearly always does so inside a security matrix. So that's it will be assigned to a particular team. It will be in a particular security territory. It will belong to a particular user. They have to be thought through. Now, leads are a little different from company and person uploads, and we're going to see that in the next lesson. But when you upload a lead, it allows you to assign the new records to a team or to an assigned user. And you can also add the data to a specific security territory. Now, if this is not specified, either in the upload process within the screens which guide you through the process, or within the data itself, and that is then matched to the CRM columns, then the data is going to be added to the home territory of the user performing the data upload. So imagine somebody uploads the data and they happen to be in the worldwide territory. It means that, not taking that into account, somebody who is in a local territory like the US, South Africa, or in US, they wouldn't be able to see it because the data would have been put into a territory on which they don't have rights. So it is very important to take into account the security information, like which team does this belong to, which territory does it belong to, and am I assigning it to a user? And if you get it wrong, this can be a pain. Now, there is an option to create a group during the upload, and that group would then allow you to carry out allow a system administrator to carry out a bulk operation against those new records to change a territory perhaps, but it would still be a pain, and it is much better to get it right before you start the process of the data upload and before you upload something into the wrong territory or assigned to the wrong team. Now, we recommend that you create a full backup of our Sage CRM database before you upload any records. Now, a full backup enables you to roll back any changes made by the data upload. And if necessary, if you don't have that backup, you may find it necessary to delete records from the system. As I said, you could do that as a bulk operation because you do have a group that is created, but it's probably, if you've made a mistake, it's much better to have rolled back to or restoring to an earlier point. Now, I've looked through now in this lesson a whole set of things. We've looked at the idea of preparing ourselves by assembling the different resources that you'll need. We've considered how data needs to be uploaded into a particular destination entity. That's the lead, the company, and person. We've considered the importance of preparing and cleaning data and thinking about duplicate removal, the nature of the fields themselves, their length, whether they're required. And we've also considered as well the user rights and the nature of the user, where the security points that the data is going to go into, and the importance of backing up the system before we carry out that data upload. This brings us to the point where we're now ready to approach the process of uploading the data. So in the next lesson, we're going to look at the process of uploading lead and company and person information. We'll look at scenarios about how that works within batch and how errors are handled and how information is thrown out. But from all of that, let's see now if anyone has got any questions. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.